They say opposites attract, but what if opposites also teach? A couple days ago, I sat at my dining table doing my homework when my sister comes up to me and asks me if I wanted to watch the movie Beauty and the Beast with her. Initially reluctant, I found myself unable to bear her sad face and agreed to watch it with her. Whenever I had watched this film prior, I wasn't focused on anything other than the melody songs, the vibrant colors, and the detailed animation. But this time, this film managed to create a significant change in my perception about our society, about how a society is too quick to judge, how we often discard a person's individual nature just to make them fit into the standards for community. I never understood this concept that you and I have different ideas, different personalities, different physical features. We are unique, and in that, we each bring something new to the table. It's highly probable that, speaking on the topic of harmonious dissonance, each and every person sitting in the audience would have a completely different interpretation. Would have a completely different interpretation. We are different, and that is what brings individuality to this world. The problem arises when we start to restrict that individuality. For example, something we see in almost every household is how the students are encouraged to choose one of the three career streams. And we all know which stream is expected to be chosen. I'm sure, no, I'm confident that all of you must be familiar with what I'm about to say next. When we're a kid, we're asked three questions from our relatives. What standard are you in? How are your studies going? What stream will you choose when you grow up? These songs are so ingrained in our family routine that I never stopped to think about its implications until I started writing this speech. The future of 8 billion people is divided into three sections. How sad is that to think about? Something you'll be doing your entire life is dependent on how much money you'll make, how much respect you'll have in a society that, as much as I love it, does tend to focus on these aspects. So I want to propose something today. Allow yourself to explore. Pursue the hobbies you want to pursue, the subjects you want to learn more about. Because in a country as culturally diverse and beautifully historic as ours, it's the least we can do. My favorite method of exploration is by making mistakes. Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for you to intentionally fail a test or mess up a presentation. Rather, what I'm trying to say is that if you do get less than 100% on a test, if you do mess up on a presentation, accept it and embrace it for the learning opportunities that they are. Mistakes often force us to think out of the box, to ponder on perspectives initially deemed non existent. Mistakes are not signs of failures, they're signs of effort. But somewhere along the way, we're taught to avoid them. And that suppresses our inner beauty. And this leads me to share a study with you. A study that completely changed my perspective about creativity. In the 1960s, a famous scientist, Dr. George Land, ran a creativity test on 1,600 children. At age 5, 98% of the students scored in this genius range. By age 15, only 12% remained. And by adulthood, only 2% remained in that bracket. As Pablo Picasso famously quoted, every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain one once you grow up. What happened here? Did we lose our creativity? But our creativity was put on a leash controlled by societal standards, where judgment is made instantaneously. And we forget the freedom we initially possessed and grow accustomed to our restrictions. If our creativity fades away while we grow up, then how do we regain it? For me, it started with something as simple and as strong as a voice. While I was preparing for today's talk, my sister gave me an invaluable advice. Advice about something we use every day. Advice about something which communication is impossible without. Our voice. She told me not to use my voice merely as a tool, but as a medium of change. She told me to explore each and every avenue I can reach. She told me to use my voice as an instrument that is to be explored from low to high. Just like these instruments, we often perceive these instruments are, we generally perceive these instruments to be limited to a such genre, like a violin can only play classical, and a saxophone can only play jazz. But let me tell you something, a violin can play modern songs, and a saxophone can play classical. And just like these instruments, society tends to make such clear cut distinctions between what it finds beastly and what it finds beautiful. It imposes values on acts, thoughts, and even appearances. Characteristics of unpredictability or untamed power are often considered as beastly in nature, while characteristics of polish and control are considered as beautiful in nature. And that is where harmonious dissonance comes into action. It is the idea that 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 conflicts or differences don't have to be raised. It is the acceptance of the fact that life consists of tensions and contradictions. It does not teach us to put everything into one clear truth. It teaches us to embrace differences. Because that is, my dear audience, where the real magic lies. And that is what makes a difference. Have you ever heard a piece of music where two notes clash and yet create something beautiful? Well, I have. And whenever I used to listen to this music, I always used to flinch. But today, I stand here without flinching. I stand here with a smile because I want that my life is like the piece of music. Not smooth, not safe, but real. In a world so quick to divide and define, may we be the ones who embrace complexities, celebrates contradictions, and find harmony in middle of a mess. That is my harmonious dissonance. Thank you.